Now, usually when people tell me to go big or go home, they have no comprehension whatsoever of my desire to go home, because that's where the games are. But in 1997, this little game came along, which led to me seeking out games that got bigger and bigger and even bigger. And after taking part in the 52 game challenge last year, I thought this year I'm going to go back to home turf and play as many big games as I can. So if you want to see some of the big games that I'm not only going to be playing, but have just recently picked up to play, you just wait until after these. So as I said in the past, the 52 game challenge is an absolutely fantastic thing to take part in, and I can heartily recommend any one of you watching this to try and beat 52 games in 1 year. But for me this year, yes, I'm going back to JRPG, RPG and large scale story games, and the first one that I've picked up to get stuck into this year is Greedfall. Now of course I can't talk too much about Greedfall because I haven't given it a great deal of time yet. I did however play a little bit when it came out in the PlayStation Plus service, but I haven't really put that much time into it yet. A few people of course have been singing the praises of this game, and now that it's had an upgrade to the PlayStation 5, maybe this is the time for me to get stuck into it once and for all. So that's Greedfall coming into the collection, so I have another big game to stick my teeth into this year. Next up, we're staying with the PlayStation 5 but moving on to a JRPG, and a game that's had its praises sung by none other than a friend remembers, and that game is Tales of Arise. Now I can tell you absolutely nothing about Tales of Arise because 1, I haven't played the game, and 2, I haven't even played a single Tales game. But after a friend remembers giving this particular game a ringing endorsement, I had no option but to jump on the Tales bandwagon and start to experience these Tales games for myself. Now being a JRPG, it won't take too long for this game to move up the playlist and finally get played. But as I've already said, this year it's go big or go home, so there are a few big games that I have to get through probably before I get to this one, but without a doubt I'm happy at least that I have my first Tales game in the collection where it will stay forever and definitely get played. Next up, we're staying with the PlayStation 5, but it's a game that was originally released for the PlayStation 3. It's another JRPG, but this time it's tactical because it's Disgaea 6 Complete. Now the Disgaea games are a series of games that I've never played, which is a bit of a surprise considering it's a tactical RPG, and I absolutely adore tactical RPGs. But to be frankly honest, I was completely unaware of them until the wonderful Andy over at Brew United started picking these games up for his collection again. So Brew United, thanks for putting me onto this one. It's another big set of games I have to get through, but Disgaea 6 Complete for the PlayStation 5 is into the collection and it will be getting played. Now next up, we're moving away from the PlayStation 5 and onto the Nintendo Switch, which is a console that, yes, I am starting to fall in love with more each day, and this is one of the reasons why, because the game that I picked up, and another recommendation from Brew United because he's a big JRPG guy too, and that is Octopath Traveler. Now it's not that I didn't know that Octopath Traveler was out there, that it was a classic turn-based JRPG and an absolute gem of a game that I would adore. It was just that it was on the Switch, and the Switch wasn't quite into my life at that point. Ever since picking up the Switch, of course, it has been on my radar, but as I said before, last year was the year of the 52 game challenge and there was no way I was going to get through Octopath Traveler as well as the other 51 games I would have to knock off. But this year, the year of go big or go home, the Octopath Traveler is definitely into the collection, and especially with all the hype building around Octopath Traveler 2, which is just out at the moment. So it's with great joy that I can finally say that Octopath Traveler is into the collection and it's very high on the to play list. Now next up, we're moving away from the Switch but staying with Nintendo and moving on to the DS, because there was one game out there that I haven't played, haven't completed. It is a JRPG, it's part of a series that I need every game for, and that is Final Fantasy III on the Nintendo DS. Now of course it is an absolute travesty that Final Fantasy III hasn't made it into my collection, my physical collection anyway, until now. But of course let's be fair here, because I am a Sony pony and Final Fantasy III never made it to the PlayStation, not any of the consoles. Final Fantasy 1 and 2 were on the Wonderful Origins disc and Final Fantasy 4 and 5 were on the Anthology disc, but as for 3 I've had to pick it up for the DS, and you know what, that's not a bad thing anyway. So I'm happy to have Final Fantasy III, a physical copy of the game into the collection, where it will get played at this year, some point anyway, but it will be in the collection forever. Now next up is a game full of magic and wonder, magical beasts, potions, witches, goblins, wizards, you name it, it's all in it, and you've probably guessed what game it is. No, not this one. I am playing this one at the moment, but it's not the game that I've picked up to keep in the collection forever. It's this one, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the Game Boy Color. Now this one completely caught me off guard because I had no idea that out there was a Harry Potter game on the Game Boy Color that was a turn-based JRPG, and it was only after a good friend pointed out to me in a local reseller of video games that this Harry Potter game wasn't an action-adventure like every other Harry Potter game, but in fact a turn-based RPG. Now I'll be frankly honest with you, and I took what he said with a pinch of salt because I thought there was no way that there was such a game out there in the Harry Potter universe. But I picked the game up and sure enough it is in fact a turn-based combat RPG. Who knew, right? But that's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the Game Boy Color coming into the collection, and it's probably the first time I've really been happy about a Harry Potter game coming into the collection forever. So there you go my friends, that's the big games that I've picked up for the go big or go home year that I'm going to have in gaming anyway. And you know what, give it a try yourself if that's your cup of tea, or even try the 52 game challenge. But if you want to talk about any of the games you've seen here today, including Hogwarts Legacy, because I have played enough of that game to have solid first opinions, and if you want a quick review just now, it's done a good job. But anyway, back onto the games that are coming into the collection to stay into the collection. Have you played any of them? Would you like to play them? Were you surprised as me about the Harry Potter Game Boy Color game being a turn-based RPG? Because it absolutely blew me away. I had no idea such a thing existed out there. But if you do want to talk, well, down there in the comments, because interaction between you and me, well, that's what makes YouTube special. Now, if you want to see more of, well, my pickups, there will be up there, yeah, up there in that box. If you're watching on a device that supports such things, then that will be a list of all the pickups I've made over the last couple of years, and down there the pixel years, and you can watch some of my journey through gaming if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching as always, and until next time of course, cheerio!